All right. Good evening, guys. My name is Devak, and I'll be your president of the Security Council. We have Aarushi here, who's going to be the vice president. Glad to have you all on board. I'll first start with the procedure which we're going to be following. So, considering Vaze has had a collaboration with UNIC, which is the United Nations Information Center of India and Bhutan, we are adopting the UN for One rules of procedure. And I'll be just give me a second. I'll just screen share so that I can explain to you what the UN for One rules of procedure is. Are you able to see it?
Yes, go ahead.
All right, perfect. So firstly, with respect to UN for one, all right, I'll start with this chart, which is really self-explanatory and help you understand. Firstly, we needed the quorum of the committee, all right. So that is done by your roll call. So what will happen is that we will call out the country's name, and you have to say you're present in committee or not, all right. So once you do that, we ascertain what the quorum of the committee is. Let's say there are 27 allotments that we made. So if all 27 turn up, I'll say, okay, there are 27 people in committee, simple majority, 30.5 plus 1, 14.5, rounded off to 15. So 15 will be the simple majority for any motion to pass. All right. So that will be our quorum. Then the second is you set up the agenda. As you can read here, the provisional agenda shall be drawn up by the Secretary General, communicated to all delegates prior to the start of the conference. I'm sure all of you know the agenda, right? Is there anyone who does not know what the agenda is? All right, I'm assuming that it means yes. So we will essentially decide what the agenda. We'll establish the agenda. After which we will be in debate. All right. So the debate is usually we're going to be normally in formal consultations. All right. This will be our main area where we'll be in. So, okay, before one second, I'll just stop sharing for a second because I just need to have like interactive. So, how many of you are first time? How many of you are first timers? If you are first timers, please raise your hands. So I could. Is only France a first timer?
I guess yes.
Okay. Fair enough. So okay, no. So considering the rest, okay, how many of you have done less than 5 MUNs? That I think will give a better, clearer answer. How many of you have done less than 5 MUNs? Okay. Fair enough. So getting to, wait, I'll just get back to the screen sharing so I can explain as to how this procedure works. So essentially, this is where a GSL, like for experienced people, this is where the GSL happens. So this will be a speakers list, as you can see here. There will be a speakers list which we will be establishing. We will ask for people who will want to put their names into this list. There will be a specific time period for which we'll decide on the day of the committee. But ideally, it's 90 seconds. So if 90 seconds is given to each person on this list, you come ahead and you speak on the agenda at hand. All right. So as you can read, the questions will also be asked to the person who is speaking here. So there's, let's say there are time left. All right. If there's time left, you can either yield that time back to the executive board. Let's say, okay, I'm done with speaking. I don't want to take questions as well. So you can take the time back. We move on to the next speaker. Second is you can yield the time to another delegate who wishes to use that time present. And thirdly, you can yield the time to questions. So you can have questions asked to you by other delegates based on the speech you've just made, and you can answer them on the spot. All right. That is what your debate, like, your formal consultation will consist of. Now, to explain a very important concept, which is there in the formal consultation, during the formal consultation are points. Yes, France, you've raised your hand. Do you have a doubt?
No, actually I previously raised it, so I didn't lower it down. So yeah, now.
All right, Palestine, do you have a doubt?
Yeah, so like in the document itself, it states that formal consultations do not have any yields. Like that yields concept is something that is, related with UNA, USA.
Yes, but again, considering UN for one is usually a simulation, it's not usually used in a competitive setting. and if you don't have the yields concept present in committee, then that would allow people, there'll be a little lack of clarity. So considering it's a relatively inexperienced committee, we're giving that concept. But then again, if you feel that it's hindering committee in any way, we can have a discussion on it and decide accordingly. All right. Any more doubts, guys? Wait, I can see a few more hands raised. USA.
Hi. So I had two questions. Firstly, when you covered voting, you didn't mention present in voting. So is that not part of the procedure?
No, it isn't. It's only, as you can, wait, let me just get up here. Yeah, as it says, only present in the situation. All right.
All right.
All
right. And the second part of my question is, I can see you've expanded the strength of a usual UNSC, which is fine, but do observer nations get a vote? Because usually observer nations don't have a vote.
So, okay, there are two kinds of voting which take place. One is procedural vote and one is substantial vote. All right, procedural vote is usually on like the motions, whether you want to move into a formal consultation or whether you want to, formal, informal, so on and so forth. For those motions, you will take the votes of the observers. But if it comes to paperwork, or if it comes to any substantial change, like, if you want to end committee, adjourn committee, if you want to, vote on amendments, vote on the paperwork, that will require only members who will vote. And then the SC provisional rules of procedure apply in that position.
All right. Thank you.
Right? Cool. Now that I've explained formal session, I'll move on to points. All right. Now, it's not like the points are only there in USA. It's a bit different. All right. The personal privilege and the point of personal privilege still remains. If you have a personal discomfort, you can ask, get that sorted. But considering it's an online simulation, it will mostly be used in case there are people who wish to aren't able to hear others, or if someone's speaking a bit too fast or too slow, or so on and so forth. So that's why you raise a point of personal privilege. If you then the second one, like when it comes to point of information, a point of information are the questions which you ask, like in the formal consultations, we can take questions. In that, those are not as point of information. That's just a fancy terminology used for questions. Thirdly is the point of orders. Now, usually there are two kinds of point of orders. For your knowledge, I'm just explaining it to you. There are two kinds of point of orders. One is on the executive board when they make a procedural mistake, like how Delegate Palestine rightly pointed out that there are no yields in UN for months. So why am I adding yields there? Then I explained to him benefit of committee, so on and so forth. He's like, and so when we can go ahead. So in the middle of committee, if I make a mistake like that, all right, you can point it out through a point of order to the executive board. Now, the second type, which is not going to be present in this committee, but for future conferences, you can remember this, is a point of order to delegate. Now, if a delegate makes a factual inaccuracy, then you can, point it out through a point of order saying that this is the factual inaccuracy, XYZ is a factual inaccuracy, ABC is the correct term, or ABC is the correct statement. All right, that is the point of order. This is something you don't need to understand now because it's not going to be present in this time. But like at the end of committee or like in the middle, if you want to know more about it, you can ask me personally. So that is the points which you will be having. Now, in case you have any problems with or any doubts with respect to the procedure or anything, there is a fourth point, which is the point of parliamentary inquiry. In the point of parliamentary inquiry, if you have any procedural doubt which you want to ask the executive board, you can use that at the point of parliamentary inquiry. Now, to make sure that it's not misused, you can only ask this for procedure. You can't ask for any substantial point. You can't ask them in any way to put forward your statement. If I say, if I'm in the ECOSOC and if I'm discussing SDGs, I can't say point of parliamentary inquiry. I want to state about the harmful effects of the SDGs in certain scenarios. So how do I do that? That way, we know that you want to talk about the harmful scenarios. That's something I will not, accept, or I will not basically look. I'll frown upon the same. So keep that in mind. Use them only for procedural doubts. Now coming to the informal part of debate. All right. So, in case when you want to take a break from the formal consultations where you only decide the agenda, there are informal consultations which you can utilize. So the first one, as you can see in this, is a formal informal. Now, a formal informal is essentially when you want to suspend the formal consultations to discuss on a specific issue. So you have a similar structure as a formal consultation, but the difference is that this is time bound, that you have to specify the amount of time for which this will be placed, and the speakers, total number of speakers who will be speaking here. All right. So that's what will be established in the formal and informal. When you see the second one is informal. All right. In that, basically, if you want to take a break or you want to like temporary recess with wherein rules and procedures are suspended and you're free to negotiate with the other delegates in question. So in that case, what will happen is Aarushi and I will move into an AB lounge, or we'll move into a different room, and you're all free to discuss whatever you choose to discuss. All right, those are the two motions which you can raise during formal consultations. If you don't want to have formal consultations anymore, you can raise a motion for a formal informal, specify the topic and discuss on that, or an informal and take a break. All right. In both cases, you need to raise the total time period. We won't ask for individual speaker time because that's not how it works in UN for month. We will just, so ideally, let's say if there are 20, if it's 20 minutes are given, all right, we will say that, okay, there are 20 people in committee, 20 minutes. So ideally, you to ensure everyone speaks, you give a minute. If you pass, you can pass it, you can take more time, but then there is something known as diplomatic courtesy, which means that you have to be respectful to the other diplomats who are present in committee. And if you take for more longer than them, or you take up more time, then you're essentially giving them you're disrespecting them by not giving them that equal amount of time to speak. So you can take the risk of speaking more, but then do know that you could be marked on diplomatic courtesy as well. So again, the third motion or the third thing which you can raise during formal consultation are draft resolutions. All right. So on the day of the event, I'll be explaining like the exact format for a draft resolution, but I can explain what the essence of a draft resolution is. So a draft resolution is essentially the formal documentation of the committee, which shall be used to which shall be the end document per se. So like wherever you want, whatever solutions you discussed in the course of committee, you write them down in a draft resolution, you discuss them, you discuss its implementation, you discuss everything about it. And then in the end, if there is a consensus adopted by committee with respect to the draft resolution, we adopt it. Yes, Iraq, you have a point, a question?
Okay, first of all, apologies for disrupting the flow of the
Not an issue.
debate. First of all, secondly, I'd like to say that I totally couldn't hear the point about the formal courtesy that you said about the formal courtesy. And secondly, thirdly, is there anything about order of disruption? Is there an order of disruption in UN for MUN?
Okay, I'll take them one at a time. Firstly, I'll repeat the point about diplomatic courtesy. So,
Okay.
so essentially, there are 20 minutes given for a motion, like in a formal and informal, you raise it for 20 minutes. All right. Now divide 20 by, let's say 20 people. Let's say 20 people turn up tomorrow for the committee or whenever the committee is. It turn up, 20 people turn up. So if you want to ensure that everyone speaks during that committee or during that committee session, you speak for a minute. If you speak for anything more than a minute, you are allowed to do so because that's a sovereign right. But you are essentially disrespecting the other people who are wishing to speak in committee but are going to get less of a time because of your your decision. So keeping that in mind, that's what diplomatic courtesy is. So this coming to the second part, like the whole thing about the order of disruption, I will be getting to that below. So that in the same document which I'll be sending to you, the order of disruption is mentioned in a very concise manner. With that, we'll be able to know what is the order of disruption in the situation. Did I miss out on any question you raised?
No, that's all. Thank you.
All right, cool. There were more hands raised. USA, yes.
Are we not following mod and mods?
No. So in UN for MUN, it's not mods and mods. It's formal and informal discussions.
Okay, so formal informal is moderated caucus, and informal is the parallel to unmoderated caucus, right?
Precisely. Yes.
And how would you raise a motion for formal, informal, and informal? Could you give us a sample?
Same way in the MUN, you in the middle I'll ask for motions. You raise a motion to move into a formal informal session or an informal session. You give me the total time. In case of a formal informal, you tell me the topic.
Topic and per speaker time as well.
So per speaker time is something we don't limit in the UN for MUN rules of procedure.
Okay.
So you don't have to mention that. You just have to mention total time.
All right, but you did mention that if I exceed the time limit, it's not courteous to the other delegates. What is the mandated time limit?
So, okay, it depends on the people who are there in committee. So let's say if you raise it for 27 minutes, considering that 27 people allotted, then ideally 1 minute should be given per speaker.
Right.
So that would be the mandatory time. So it depends on the people who turn up on that day.
All right. So it depends on quorum.
Yes, it depends on the quorum. Exactly.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So I was at draft resolutions, right? Okay. Draft resolutions, as I said, you write down solutions which you've discussed or deliberated upon through the course of committee. And if a consensus is brought upon it, then great. If there are people who are, if there are multiple draft resolutions on the floor, or there are different contesting of resolutions, or there are people who are against resolution, you move to a vote. Now, normally in UN there's a different procedure, but we are in the Security Council. So, Security Council's provisional rules come into play here. You require 9 affirmative votes for any substantial motion to pass. So, if the P5 say yes or abstain, but if you get 9 affirmative votes of the members, that resolution passes. Is that clear, or is anyone have any doubt with respect to that?
Yes, I have one question.
Yeah,
You need 9 votes in addition to the P5, right?
Yeah, ideally in addition to the P5, but in case there is an abstention from a P5 member, then accordingly you need like 9 votes in general from members.
All right. So excluding the P5, 9 out of 15, and 0 vetoes from the P5 for anything to pass.
Exactly.
Sir, if I may, not excluding the P5, but including those. Whether or not the P5 vote, that isn't necessary at the moment for the voting, as long as they do not vote no, right?
Exactly. So I think that's what I explained. It may have been a bit confused. So to clarify, all right, you require votes. All right. Ideally, the P5 needs to say yes, or they need to abstain. If they abstain, their vote isn't counted as yes, right? So you need 9 yeses, and no P5 member should say no. I hope that's clearer.
Right, because the reason I asked this question is, although it's highly improbable, but there is a possibility that all P5 abstain. Then all the voting depends on the remaining. Now, usually that would be 15 in a normal SC, but since you've expanded the capacity to 27, that would be 9.
So
what is that?
To clear that up, you still have 15 members of the Security Council, and
Observers can't vote. Got it.
The rest of the 12 members are observers. So they can present paperwork with a few restrictions, but ultimately, they won't be able to vote on the paperwork.
Right.
So it remains 15 people. So in the unforeseen circumstance whether all P5 say abstain, then it depends. If you have other 9 members saying yes, then accordingly, then the resolution passes, because that's the rules of the Security Council.
Right, got it. Sorry for creating confusion.
Not an issue. I think that confusion probably could be cleared. So,
all right. Have you covered voting, or will you be explaining the different rounds?
I'll be explaining the voting. Right. I'll be coming to the voting. All right. That was the essence of the draft resolution. All right. And the last thing is closure of debate. All right. This usually happens after the resolution is passed or failed upon. And in the end of committee, when you're like, okay, enough time has passed, now the scheduled time is over, so we need to dip. So essentially, that's when you raise a motion to closure of debate. All right. Now, when it comes to DRs, how it's drafted, what's the discussion of it, the voting of it, I'll be explaining on the day of. So as to make sure that you don't get confused, because there's a lot of confusion which happens with respect to DR voting. So on the day of, when you're super focused into the conference, I'll explain it to you again, the voting process, and accordingly you'll be able to understand it. All right. Now, if you come below, these are the general rules. All right. I won't be reading all of them because they're quite a lot, but I would be sending this document to you. Read these rules properly. I will also do that. We will not be following everything to the T. These will be our guiding lights. So in case if I do something which is grossly violative of something, for example, setting the agenda. All right. So if I do something which is completely against the setting of the agenda, if I don't set the agenda, just start the GSL, then you can raise a motion saying point of order. Raise a point saying point of order to the executive board. You haven't set the agenda. What are we discussing on? All right. So read up on this. This tells you exactly what are the the procedure which you have to follow. Again, do note one very important thing. We are in an online MUN simulation. This is not the actual UN in play. In the actual UN, you have the luxury of time. You have the luxury of not competing. All right, they're two different things. To facilitate debate and to for the paucity of time, we may have to abridge the rules of procedure in a way. You can raise them, but don't be salty when I say okay because of the time period and I explain why. All right, I'll take your point into account. I'll mark you for the procedural awareness you have. But also keep in mind that this is an MUN simulation conference. So if I take any point which I'm changing, I'll acknowledge that yes, this is not how it usually works, but because of the paucity of time, I have to take this decision. All right. So all of this is there. It has motion, suspension. What is the and as someone raised a question about the order of procedural motions. This is the order for the procedural motions in question. All right. Things about draft resolution, the amendment, the voting. All right, all of that. Now, again, remember, guys, voting will be probably following SC provisional. So I already explained what the SC provisional is. It's only regarding to substantial vote. All right. Yes, Turkey, you have a point. Tiger of Turkey. I'm not able to hear anything. Guys, am I audible?
Yes,
You are.
I know that's a weird question to ask after speaking out, but like a few people aren't able to hear me. So, okay, in case you aren't able to hear me, this meeting is being recorded. So, if you missed out on anything which I've said beforehand, you can either ask it now, and if you can hear me, then I'll explain it again. Or you can read, watch the recording and accordingly. I mean, I hope in that case the audio issues do not persist.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, this is Delegate of.
So Delegate of France.
Yes, go ahead.
So I'm a complete newbie in this event. So I don't have any idea like what are the points that I should keep in mind. So can you please give me some tips?
Okay, so for any first timer who's here for the first time, in the especially firstly taking the SC on the first time is a great decision, because in SC you realize that procedure may be important, but the content or the way you debate is much more in this scenario. So what I would tell you to focus on is the way you debate here, not much on the procedure, because procedure will be handled. All right, we're there to manage the procedure. You don't need to know it per se as well. You as compared to you need to know how to debate. So focus on your country's policy, focus on the country's stance on the matter, how you're supposed to debate, how do you prioritize your speeches. Focus on that, I think, as a first timer, and you would have a much better start to your MUN career as compared to if you focus mainly on procedure. Procedure is something you get the hang of because you have the documents, you have people explain it to you over and over again every time you are in a conference. So after a while, it becomes second nature for you to know the procedure. But what you need to learn specifically is how to speak and how to delegate more than how to know the procedure of the conference. So that's the tip I would give you. Focus more on the substantial part of it, and I think you'll be sorted. All right.
So the study guide which has been given to us, which includes all the key points, we basically have to research upon that, right?
That's okay. The study guide is a guiding source book which is given to you. All right. As the word says, study guide. It's not like your study booklet or something or your textbook which has everything which you need to learn. The syllabus is way more vast than that, but we've given you those key points just to at least mention that, if not more, is the situation here. So read the guide. Obviously prepare on those points, but you need to prepare on a lot more if you want to stand a chance of winning in this committee. All right. So if let's say one point, if one point is mentioned, delve deeper into that point. What points are connecting to those points? You need to know what connects them as well. All right. So that's how the research of an MUN course. The research of an MUN is much more important as compared to the procedure of an MUN. So
Okay.
So how should I know that which all points I have to study? Like the extra points which are not mentioned in the guide. Any idea about that?
So that comes in when you research only for those points. So whatever points are mentioned in the guide, you search on them, you research on them more, you automatically come upon any other points which are not mentioned in the guide. All right. Before that, Iraq and Palestine, you have raised your hands for a while. Apologies. Your points.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay. So apologies once again, but follow up on the question raised by France. Now that we're talking about the study guide and the research, is there any what are the credible sources for research? Like what are the
Credible sources, okay, are in hierarchy for everyone. UN reports, UN documents, UN reports will be binding on everyone. All right, not binding in a sense, it will be the most credible. I think that's the more accurate way to put it. For you specifically, your government sources are most accurate. So Iraq's government resources will be accurate for you, but it will be persuasive for others, which means that they don't have to take it. It won't be binding on them. And then after news reports are persuasive to everyone. So those are the tiers of sources. Yes, Palestine, your question.
Right, sir. This question would be more pertaining towards the uh, ROP aspects of things.
Yes, sir.
Sir, if I recall correctly, that particular thing where you mentioned that we do not have any limits as to how much time we take as an individual, I think that pertains to the ARIA formula aspect of the agenda, because in Rule 6 in the document that you have given, it
Yes.
states that we have a privilege as to we may choose to decide the limit of time for each speakers.
Yes. So okay, that again is the case, but then so I can't decide. That's something you have to come up with yourselves, right? If let's say everyone, that again requires consensus. That's what my point. Where this could get pretty tricky for the first timers, which is why I've decided to not put that limitation. Let me explain why. Let's say you have a motion, all right, for on formal and formal discussing on the situation in Palestine, and you give 2 minutes per speaker. You require consensus from each and every individual. Even if one person says, I don't want to speak for 2 minutes, I want to speak for less, or so on and so forth, then we can't impose it on everyone. Then that person can speak for as much of time as you want.
Sir, again, apologizing for interrupting, but Rule 6 states that the thing may be put to a vote,
Yes,
and
that's
that
the thing. But
that vote will be
vote
the
requires
deciding
consensus,
factor.
right?
No, sir,
Yes, sir.
it
But
says that we have to go by majority vote.
wait, Rule 6, right?
Rule 6, yes.
1 second. The meeting may limit allowed to speaker. Okay. For decision taken, president may speak in favor of two against. Is limited representative exceeds. So the president chairperson shall call the speaker to order without delay. Okay. Again, so again, diplomatic courtesy. I can tell them to stop, but they don't have to stop. Right. That's one of the major tenets of UN for month. So I
Right,
get
right.
that.
Okay, got it.
So again, I don't considering the strength of committee, considering the volatility, it would be hard to curb. If you all are okay with it, on the day off, I will keep that in mind and I'll just discard that and then okay. If majority votes, then fine. But then again, I'll have to get everyone's consistent on that part. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, I got it.
All right.
Also, another question that I had,
Yes, sir.
would we be having opening statements?
So okay, with respect to your procedure here, all right, the speaker list is drawn up. You can consider that to be opening statements, but that the formal list, speaker list will be going on and on. It's not. It's an exhaustive list. So if the list will end as soon as the people in that list, number of people that stop. So if you continuously add a name to that list can go on and on through the course of committee. So once the list ends, the committee ends. It's the same format as GSL.
Right, right. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Also,
Turkey.
if
Sorry. Yes.
if we as a committee so decide, on a consensus basis, would you be acceptable to treating one round of our formal consultation speeches as opening statements, wherein you do not take motions until everyone has spoken at least once?
I think that is ideally what I'll do anyway, to make sure that everyone gets their sounds put forward. But again, I get
Perfect, perfect.
it may not be the norm. So again, if that's something everyone would want for sure, then yes, I'll allow that.
Perfect, thanks.
Right. Iraq and USA. First Iraq, your question, followed by USA.
Oh no, I'm really sorry. I forgot to.
No problem. USA.
Yes. What is the procedure for presidential statements? Do you entertain those?
No.
There will be no presidential statements?
You are anyways representing the your head of state, your country in session. So what's the difference between if you come and the president comes?
No, but I practiced my Trump accent, but never mind.
Sorry,
I practiced my Trump accent, but never mind.
you can still speak as Trump. I think that's fine. I'll allow you to do so. All right, if you
All right.
so yeah, if you can maintain it through the course of committee, then bonus points in chocolates, not in committee.
All right, thanks.
My apologies. So once again interrupting, but so
One
all
second,
of
this is a
our
delegate of
that's Iraq.
yes,
Uh,
sir. Go ahead.
so all of our speeches, whether formal, informal, whether in a formal consultations or an informal consultations, would be as if they were spoken by the president. So all of them would be
No.
put to words. Like
Okay. So the thing is, okay, in the
because
Security Council, all right, there are permanent representatives, right?
yes,
So those permanent representatives, you are essentially embodying those permanent representatives. So that's who you are. You're not the president. You're not the prime minister or whatever the head of state in your country is called. You may represent their ideas and their point of view, but ultimately you're the representative of that country or that government. So that's how you have to speak.
okay,
You understand that?
yeah, sure, I got it. Thank you.
You see your hand still up. You still have a point?
No, I'll lower it. Thank you.
All right, no issues. Is there anyone else with any more questions? Because I've essentially given you a brief overview on what the committee will hold. Yes,
Yes, sir. This
Sir.
yeah, Aarushi, go ahead.
No, I had nothing to say. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
okay. I'll go ahead in that case. So this isn't a question towards you, but more towards the OC. Like, would we have an idea? Could we have an idea as to how many hours we'll be having committee session for? A rough estimate would do.
The average, it can be 2 hours.
So,
Sessions.
No. For both of the days, like total committee time for both the days.
Then I'll put it in the chat box.
they'll release like a proper schedule as to how many hours. That's accordingly you will get to know.
Right. Thanks.
Anything else, guys? Any more questions? Feel free to ask any of them because I can sit here for as long as it requires for you to clear our doubts.
Yeah. Also, would you be open to amending the ROP if the whole committee is in consensus with it?
Complete
Consensus for it.
I would okay. I would urge her to follow this ROP, but if you are adamant on changing it, I cannot stop you. Let's put it that way.
Right. Not major changes, just like minor changes here and
The
there.
minor changes, yeah, then that anyways you have the right as a Security Council. Security Council at any time can change its procedure or its president actually by consensus. So
It actually takes a lot longer than instant.
yeah, I understand that. So again, yeah, of course, I'll allow it. If you raise if you raise a motion to change a specific part of procedure, I'm okay with it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Delegate of France.
One second, Delegate Francis. Just to imbibe this practice, if you have anything to say, raise your hand, and I'll definitely recognize you. I've seen it now, so yes, go ahead.
So I just wanted to ask two things. So basically, one person asked here, and it was regarding the opening speech. I think I missed on that. So can you please repeat it? Like, do we have to give opening speeches?
No, so the thing is, it's not, there's no specific provision of an opening speech. It's just your first speech in committee, which will be, so what the delegate suggested was that each and every delegate once in a while we have a round robin format wherein everyone gets to speak once, which will be considered as an opening statement of their country. And after that, we take motions. So we won't interrupt that whole process of the motion. Is essentially, it's not compulsory. If you don't wish to put either into that list, it's fine. But yeah, that's what he suggested. In case that was missed out.
Oh, okay, sir. And the second thing is like, is there any material which I can access later, like which is there on internet or on YouTube, which can help me understand the body of MUN better, of UNSC?
UNSC specifically, okay, so the thing is, it depends on sources you take. Some sources could actually confuse you, while some sources could actually help you. With respect to videos, I don't think videos are like a great way to understand it. A lot of people have a different way of running things. I could run things in a completely different way from what you see on a video. So I would just keep away from videos for now, but do read articles on how to research or how to speak. I think those ones are something which are like universally great, which really help you mold your delegation style, because it's not one straight formula to win. It depends a lot on you personally. So if you are more of a person who speaks a lot more and has to and eloquently puts forward points, then that's the kind of delegate you can try to be. If you're the one who speaks less but speaks like to the point, that's the kind of delegate you could be. So read on those articles. I think that will help you much more than reading on certain procedures online, because that sometimes confuses you more than helps you. All right. USA followed by Palestine.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Firstly, will you be opening the group to lobbying immediately after this?
Immediately after, I think I'll just talk to them because they might want to put forward some information first so that you don't miss out on it.
All right.
But as soon as that's done, I will open the group open to like lobbying. You can also make a group on your own. Like, you can just ask the guys, like, you want to make a group? Or,
yes, but I don't know who is who, right? Like it's very cumbersome.
Yeah, understood. So we'll probably open it soon. All right.
All right. And with regards to the opening statement or GSL or whatever you call it, what is the time period for that again? Is it 90 seconds or 60 seconds?
Ideally 90, but then it's up to you. If you want to keep it 60 seconds, that's your prerogative. If you want to keep it 2 minutes, that's your prerogative. You vote on it. I'll ask you in the start, like, how much time do you want it to be? And
all right.
If no motions come up, it'll be the default 90 seconds.
All right. And also, would you be following alphabetical order, or can we be asked to speak? I mean, can we ask to be recognized first?
So ideally, we'll decide that on the day of. If we have if everyone wants to speak, we'll go alphabetical. If there are few people who want to speak and others don't, we'll have it on recognition basis.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Right. Palestine, you have a question?
Yes, sir. That would be a follow-up to what the United States asked, with regards to the recognition. Would we be having, how would we be going ahead with recognition in both the formal, informal, and the formal consultation?
Okay, so again, I personally maintain a recognition sheet to ensure everyone gets equal opportunity to speak. All right, there's no particular format per se. Let's say, okay, it would be if the first round I took Israel, USA, France, all right, in the line of questioning or the line of speeches, I will see if there's anyone else in the second round, and if there isn't, then I'll take the same countries. But if not, I'll take, if there's someone else who's wishing to speak, let's say Egypt, Iran, and Estonia want to speak instead. In the second round, I will give it to Egypt, Iran, and Estonia, and accordingly I'll go forward.
Right. So it would just be, the actual recognition will be taken rather than a round robin for both the formal and informal as well.
Yeah, no. So it won't be like a round robin system, like everyone goes in a particular order and then we repeat our order again and again. That won't be the case. It's going to be on pure recognition basis. And once we get to formal and informal sessions.
Right. Oh, all right. Thank you.
France, do you have another question?
No, I guess no. Wait, I'll just lower my hand.
Yeah, no, sure. Is there anyone else with any more questions?
Yeah, what about, would you be telling us your marking scheme now?
No, I'll tell it to you on the day of.
All right.
Anything else, guys? Aarushi, are you here? Aarushi. All right.
Devak, I'm here.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not Devak. Yeah.
Yeah, so do you have any words you want to
Yeah, sorry.
Delegates?
No, nothing from my side. I think you've covered it well.
All right, cool. Any more questions, guys? Any at all? I'll wait 5 seconds. Okay, I see one hand raised from Iraq. Yes, Iraq.
Okay. I know this is not relevant to whatever has been spoken till now, but I would really like to use the space to have. I want you to clear the confusion about the Resolution 377 of United Nations Security Council, which is Section A, which is Uniting for Peace, and how horribly it is misinterpreted in most of the months I've been to. Because
Okay, again, sir, I considering I'll be an executive board member, any opinion on that matter, considering it could be subject to the discussion of the Security Council, I can't speak on. After the session, I can definitely have a discussion with you, but not before.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
So essentially, okay, think of it this way. Wouldn't you discuss more about stuff your judge, which will align with your judge's opinion? So if I speak on any matter which is substantial, which could be related to this, which could be related to what could be discussed in committee, you would ideally want to align yourself with that line of thought, even though you may not agree with it. But because I'm the judge here, you probably want to say that so you can get marked higher. So I refrain from speaking on anything related to the agenda.
I apologize. This is nowhere related to the agenda.
Yeah, 377 United for Peace. I mean, considering Security Council, it always is because at any point of time, especially in the current situation, it could be. Which is why that possibility, if that possibility arises, I don't want anything which I say in the minds of delegates. So after the committee, I definitely would love to have a debate on this. But yeah.
Okay.
Yes, USA followed by Palestine.
Yeah, my question was, you didn't really touch on working papers. Will we be having working papers also?
So, okay, the thing is, there isn't a provision per se in UN for month for working papers, but I will have a word with Aarushi and I'll see as to if you think it's right to introduce that format in this conference.
Right, because usually we follow mod on mod working paper or mod on mod working.
Yeah, that's UN. That's again UNA USA, but then
Right.
we're following UN for money, right?
All right. I'll just get back to us on that whenever.
Yeah, sure. Palestine.
Yeah, this again would be more towards the OC as such, but could we use this Zoom session to, lobby a bit? Would that be allowed?
Wait, I'll just stop sharing first.
We will let you know that in some time.
Right, okay.
Anything else, guys? Anything?
Also, if I could just comment on the working papers, like the SC as such does not have anything as working papers. Like the
Yes.
SC only has draft resolutions, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That was a question. Anything else, guys? Iraq, you still have a question?
Yeah. So this is to be honest, this is my first online MUN. So could you just brief me about what are the differences between an offline MUN and an online MUN and how are they going to deal with it? So like chits, unmods, and other stuff. So what are like the changes?
Okay, so the thing is, chits are going to be taken in the WhatsApp group. All right, you have to tag the executive board and the person you're sending it to and send on the WhatsApp group. When it comes to unmods, we usually leave the meeting so you can discuss on the group in itself. If you want to discuss something personally, you either call them or text them. All right, and that's like the way like it works. All right. Anything else?
Yes, sir. A follow up to that. Would we be having substantive chits?
So considering the size of the committee compared to UNSC, I mostly will not. But then again, I'm not giving final word on it. I'll like to discuss it with Aarushi and get back to you on it.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, USC, you have a doubt? United States of America, you're muted in case you're speaking. All right. France?
So actually I had a doubt that can be pretty lame as well. But like in most debates, you can't read your script and then say something. So is it allowed in UN?
It is.
UN, I mean. Okay, thank you.
And it's not.
And are there any? And is there any negative marking for the same?
No, I don't negative mark on reading as long as your content is great.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
thank you so much.
My mic's working now. May I ask my question?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the question I had was, what platform will we be using for the actual MUN? Would it be Zoom or Teams or WebEx? What do you think?
Zoom. We'll
All
probably
right,
use
Zoom.
Zoom.
So you'll create breakout rooms just like this.
Yes. Do you all want a breakout room for like lobbying or stuff?
Could we just use this one after you
Yeah,
have
because
finished
the thing is,
explaining?
breakout room needs to be made before the conference. You can't just make a breakout room randomly.
No, I don't think we would require breakout rooms, during the actual MUN, but I was asking for a breakout room right now to, start lobbying a little bit.
Yeah,
If
I think the
possible.
OC member said that it's fine.
Yeah,
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 it's in
yeah.
the
So that
chat.
is, yeah, we could just use this one. So there's no need for another one.
All right, cool. Any more questions, guys?
Excuse me.
Yes, it's Tony. I'm so sorry. I couldn't. I just.
What about the position papers?
No position papers. You all don't have to
All
go for
right,
it.
thank you.
Right? Yeah. Anything else, guys? Anything else at all?
Is there any specific number of formal discussion topics that you're looking for, like 4, 5, 6? Is there
That's
anything
your
that you
prerogative.
have
I
in
can't.
mind?
Look, ideally, make sure one thing you need to know is time management. If you can discuss 10 of these topics in the 2 days, that's good on you. So decide the time, see as to how it works, and then accordingly you can, like, ascertain. I would suggest, make sure you prioritize those topics well. If you have, like, say, 6 topics of importance, discuss those 6 topics. Don't include something which is not that important and waste how many time that. But again, that I won't decide as to what it is and what isn't. That's not my job. That'll be my job to judge, but not to comment on. That's up to you. But yeah, I would suggest keep, if you have few topics which are important, discuss them first and then move on if you have more time. Anything else, guys? All right, seeing none, I think we could end the session right here.
Yeah, we could start lobbying a bit if that's all right with you.
Yeah, so firstly, OC members, I think you all can end recording now, so that, because you don't want to record the lobbying as well. So